They celebrated in the courthouse, but the shock didn't end there. In 2015, an aging mobster walked out of a Brooklyn federal courtroom a free man after prosecutors spent years trying to pin the Lufthansa heist on him. The stunned verdict reopened wounds and questions that have never healed. Where did the $6 million go? Who buried the bodies? And what else was buried with the truth? December 11, 1978. A stolen black van, ski-masked men, and 64 minutes that changed New York. The thieves walked into a Lufthansa cargo terminal at JFK and walked out with an estimated $5 million in cash and $875 worth of jewels. The largest cash heist on American soil at the time. The score was clinical. The aftermath was brutal. Jimmy the Gent, Burke, scarred, calm, and famous in the underworld, is the name everyone whispers when they try to explain how the robbery actually worked. Burke didn't drive the van. He didn't necessarily pull the trigger that night, but he built the plan, hand-picked crews, and allegedly set the post-heist rules that made the prize vanish. Silence, suspicion, and murder. Within months, people who knew too much were dead. Bodies were never found. Money was never recovered. The heist became a ledger of vanished men and vanished cash. And then Henry Hill flipped. The streetwise junkie turned insider who inspired Wise Guy and Goodfellas cut a deal with federal prosecutors and handed them the map of how the heist unfolded, but not the map to the money. Hill's books and interviews gave the world a play-by-play of paranoia. Men disappearing, blood-soaked betrayals, and Burke's cold calculus. Take the loot, then take out anyone who could point to you. Hill's testimony lit fires in courtrooms and pages in books, but it didn't close the ledger. Fast-paced and flawless in execution, the heist's real terror came afterward. Pernell Stacks Edwards failed at one job. He didn't get rid of the getaway van, and he disappeared. Tommy DeSimone vanished. Others who held even crumbs of knowledge turned up dead. Burke's paranoia, historians argue, was the weapon that dissolved the crew. Still, the cash? Gone. The jewels? Gone. Murphy's maxim of no loose ends was enforced by bullets and shovels. Then the case took a new turn. In 2013, the FBI dug at a Queens house once tied to Jimmy Burke and uncovered possible human remains in the yard and basement. A physical echo of the rumors that had circulated for decades. The discovery was grim proof that the past had not stayed buried. It also proved, painfully, that the world's most famous unsolved heist still had new stories to tell. For investigators, it was a chance to put names to bodies. For the families, a devastating confirmation. For the public, a reminder. The mob's footprint in New York could still be unearthed, literally. Then came the prosecution's own shock. Arrests in 2014. The government said it had closed a gap left open for decades. But in 2015, those efforts collapsed in the glare of a jury's doubt. Vincent Acero, one of the men accused of carrying out the plan, was found not guilty. The acquittal exposed the limits of memory, the rot of time, and the difficulty of proving old crimes when witnesses die, tales change, and evidence rots. It was a public pivot. The story many had told for decades, Burke's iron grip and the neat trail of revenge, suddenly looked messier. Here's the twist most true crime feeds missed. For all the blood and burying, the single biggest mystery wasn't who died. It was the money. Henry Hill always insisted that Burke kept the bulk of the take, squirreling bills away in houses, warehouses, and maybe even in plain sight under layers of legitimate businesses. Authors who later re-interviewed players and prosecutors argue that the heist scale allowed for a major split. The robbers got a share, and the brains of the operation kept the bulk, but the where remained speculation. If Burke was the lock, then the missing key might have been shifted, sold, laundered, or simply spent. And here's the major revelation that flips everything. Newly unearthed records, interviews in later books, and the FBI excavation together suggest the crime wasn't just a one-off robbery followed by mob retribution. Instead, layers of relocation, bodies moved, evidence shifted, even potential stashes relocated, point to a coordinated cover-up that reached beyond the crew. In plain terms, the heist's aftermath may have involved more than Burke's paranoia. It may have involved insiders who moved evidence and networks that erased paper trails, a systematic erasure so thorough that Decades later, the government could make arrests but still couldn't tie the money to anyone beyond reasonable doubt. The implication is brutal. Even with dirt turned over and witnesses testifying, a conspiracy to bury the truth might be as big as the heist itself. What does that mean for us? It means the Lufthansa heist never really ended. It became a living case, then a legend, then a litigation, then a forensic dig, then a courtroom drama, and now a cold file that keeps leaking contradictions. Every new book, every new interview, every spade in the ground brings up half answers and more questions. The money that vanished hasn't just been stolen, it has been rewritten into folklore. And folklore, unlike cash, can't be counted. The trail ends with an ugly, cinematic image. A queen's backyard taped off, agents with shovels, a decades-old rumor turned to bone, and a courtroom where an old man laughs in disbelief at his freedom. The looted millions remain a ghost. The bodies provide clues but not closure. The people who might truly know the route the cash took are gone, their lips sealed by bullets or time. And the one constant, new digs, new books, new interviews, new whispers. Note, the final secret may be buried under more than soil, it may be buried in silence. And silence, unlike money, can be laundered into a lifetime.